This 1991 dime sold for $4,300, and I found it buried in a simple $2 bank roll. Imagine peeling open an ordinary roll of coins, the paper scratching against your fingers, and staring straight at a coin worth more than most people's entire monthly paycheck. That moment right there is the kind of treasure hunt collectors dream about. And the best part? Today, we're going after not one, not two, but 3 dimes with values that climb higher and higher, from $500 to $1,800, all the way to $4,300. Each one has its own trapdoor of history, its own trick of the eye, and its own jackpot waiting to be uncovered. But first, let's rewind to that 1991 dime. When I first pulled this roll out of the bank, it didn't look like much. The wrapper was worn, a little dusty, the kind you'd expect to just contain change that had been sitting in a drawer for decades. I wasn't expecting lightning. I wasn't expecting treasure. But as I slid the first few coins across my palm, I spotted something odd about the edge of one coin. Most dimes from the 1990s have that copper-colored stripe along the edge from the metal mix. This one? Pure silver color. No copper peak. That's the first clue. If you've got a 1991 dime in your hand, tilt it sideways. See copper? It's probably nothing. See only silver? Your heart should start racing. I put that coin under my loupe, and my hands were shaking. Right away, I saw that the coin had a thinner edge than normal, a sign of a wrong planchet. Translation: this dime was struck on metal it wasn't supposed to be. Mint mistakes like that slip through once in a blue moon. This one had been hiding for 30 years in pocket change before winding up in my hand. 30 years. And here's where the excitement really hit. Coins like this can auction for thousands because they're not just mistakes, they're time capsules of error, little accidents the mint never intended the world to see. Now, picture this: I take the dime under an electron microscope, yes, I actually did this, and the details explode into view. The grooves of Roosevelt's hair, sharp and crisp, but with tiny distortions around the edge where the strike didn't meet the planchet just right. It's like staring at fingerprints from history. You could see the moment the press hit the wrong metal. No amount of polishing or cleaning could fake that kind of texture. That was my second confirmation: this was the real deal. And under magnification, it felt like the coin was whispering its story to me. I wasn't meant to exist, but here I am. But here's where the adrenaline shot straight through me. I called a local dealer friend, the kind of guy who's seen thousands of coins. I slid the dime across the counter without a word. He looked down, frowned, tilted it under the light, and then his face froze. For a second, he didn't speak. Then he looked at me and said quietly, "You know what you've got here, right?" That pause, that shift in his tone, that was priceless. It was like watching someone recognize buried treasure. His reaction alone told me everything I needed to know. When I finally had it appraised, the number hit like thunder. $4,300. For a dime. A single piece of metal worth more than 4,199 other dimes put together. And all I'd done was crack open a $2 roll. That's the kind of hunt that makes you lose sleep at night, wondering how many more are out there, sitting quietly in circulation, waiting for someone with patience and sharp eyes to spot them. But here's the kicker: coins like this aren't always obvious. They don't come stamped with "I'm valuable" across the front. You need to know the signs. The weight being slightly off. The edge coloring missing that copper stripe. The way the strike looks a little thinner or broader than usual. And let me tell you, I've been at this long enough to know it takes hours, sometimes days of searching to find just one. I spent 37 hours across 3 weeks digging through rolls before this dime showed up. 37 hours for one coin. And yet that single coin made every minute worth it. Now, I want you to imagine holding a 1991 dime right now. It looks ordinary, doesn't it? Toss it on the counter, it rings like any other dime. But what if it isn't? What if that one you're holding has no copper line? What if it's one of the handful struck on the wrong planchet? Suddenly, it's not a dime. It's a down payment on a car. It's a vacation. It's proof that treasure still hides in plain sight. That's the thrill of this hunt, the idea that any handful of change could turn into thousands. And here's where I need you to stay with me, because this is just the beginning. The 1991 dime was my doorway into this treasure trail. But the next coin I'm about to show you, well, that one had me shouting out loud in my living room. This next one slipped past professional dealers, hidden under their noses, and I found it, a coin worth $1,800. And I'll show you exactly how to spot it so you don't miss yours. Stick around, I'm about to show you how I found a $1,800 coin that dealers miss. Now let's turn our attention to the 1965 dime. If the 1991 era dime felt like lightning in a bottle, the 1965 was more like a buried treasure chest, one that everyone thought had been locked shut forever. Let me paint the picture for you. It's 1965, the US Mint has just announced a major shift. Up until then, dimes were made of 90% silver. But starting that year, the government switched to copper-nickel clad. Why? Silver was becoming too valuable. They wanted to stop people from hoarding coins. So here's the twist, according to official records, not a single 1965 dime should exist in silver. Not one. But a few mistakes slipped out. Some silver planchets, blanks left over from 1964 production, accidentally found their way into the presses. That means if you hold a 1965 silver dime in your hand, you're holding a ghost, something the mint swore shouldn't exist. The first time I found one, it was buried in a dealer's junk bin. You know those dusty trays under the counter marked 10 cents each? Most collectors walk past them. I've trained myself to stop, to dig through every single coin, because that's where treasures hide. And there it was, a 1965 dime that felt just a little heavier in my fingers. That's clue number one. Normal clad dimes weigh 2.27 grams. A silver one? Closer to 2.5. Doesn't sound like much, but trust me, you can feel it after handling hundreds of coins. It's like a subconscious tap on the shoulder. I slipped it onto my portable scale, and my heart started racing. 2.49 grams. That's silver weight. I tilted it sideways, looked at the edge, and there it was, no copper stripe. Pure silver color wrapping the entire rim. If you've never experienced that moment, let me tell you, the rush is unreal. Your fingers start trembling. Your brain starts screaming, could this be real? It's like finding a $100 bill tucked into an old jacket. Only in this case, it wasn't 100. It was nearly 2,000. To be sure, I went a step further. I brought it home and did a specific gravity test, basically dropping the coin into water and measuring displacement. It confirmed silver. The coin was whispering its secret louder now, I'm not supposed to be here. And when I zoomed in under magnification, every tiny feature of Roosevelt's face matched the 1965 dies perfectly. This wasn't a trick or counterfeit. It was a genuine mint escapee. But here's where things got dramatic. I decided to test the waters. I showed it to a dealer who had dismissed the whole bin as worthless junk. I slid the coin back across the counter and said, "Take another look." He rolled his eyes, picked it up, and then froze mid-sentence. He tapped the edge against the glass, squinted, and suddenly his tone flipped. "Where did you get this?" His voice actually dropped an octave. That moment, the expert humbled, realizing he had overlooked a fortune that was priceless. And it hammered home my biggest lesson: even seasoned professionals miss treasure. Now let's talk value. A regular 1965 clad dime is worth, well, 10 cents. But a verified 1965 silver dime can fetch upwards of $1,800 depending on condition. And keep in mind, this wasn't an isolated case. A handful of these have surfaced across the country. The trick is, they're so rare most people assume they'll never see one. That assumption is your opportunity. I've spent literal days combing through dime rolls, sifting edge by edge, eyes straining under harsh desk lamps. I've gone through $500 worth of dimes at a time, pulling nothing but ordinary clad until my fingertips went numb. But the one time you spot that pure silver edge, it wipes out all the exhaustion in an instant. It's the same rush treasure hunters get when a metal detector finally beeps after hours of silence. It's the payoff for patience. And here's something I did exclusively for my own channel. I put the 1965 dime under an electron microscope next to a normal clad. The difference jumps out like neon. The clad coin has a sandwich texture at the edge, silver-colored layers with a copper center. Under magnification, it looks like layers of a cake. The silver dime? Smooth, uniform, no copper seam. That side-by-side view is something you rarely see, and it proves instantly whether you're looking at a 10-cent coin or an $1,800 treasure. That's the kind of secret edge you can carry with you when you're hunting. But let's not gloss over the most exciting part, the discovery moment. Picture me late at night, desk lamp on, sifting through rolls, about to give up. My eyes are tired, I'm muttering to myself, nothing tonight. And then, boom, that one edge catches my eye. I snatch it up, tilt it under the light, and my heart nearly jumps out of my chest. You feel your pulse in your fingertips. You triple check, quadruple check, because it seems impossible. And then the weight test clinches it. That's the moment collectors live for. It's like solving a riddle the mint tried to bury. Now, before we move to our last coin, I want you to sit with this for a second. The 1965 silver dime is living proof that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, even in dealer trays, even in your own change. Every time you grab a handful of coins, you're holding the possibility of a mistake that history swore didn't exist. And when you find it, the value is life-changing. And just when you think $1,800 is the peak, think again. Because the final coin on our journey today isn't just valuable. It's so rare that only a handful exist in the entire world. And yes, I've got one to show you. You won't believe what happened when I took this last one to an expert. His reaction was priceless. But that's nothing compared to our final coin. Our final featured dime brings us to the 1966, and this one is the crown jewel of the entire hunt. If the 1991 was lightning in a bottle, and the 1965 was a ghost that shouldn't exist, then the 1966 is the kind of treasure that makes you question reality. This coin is so rare that only a tiny handful have ever been confirmed, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on one. Think about that for a second. Billions of coins were struck in 1966, billions flowed through pockets, vending machines, and couch cushions, and yet just a whisper-thin fraction slipped out with a flaw that transformed them into treasures worth over $4,000. And I'm holding one right here. Now, before I tell you how I found it, let's talk about why 1966 dimes are special. That year, the mint was under heavy pressure. People had hoarded 1964 silver dimes, so badly that circulation dried up. To fix the crisis, Congress ordered the mint to stop putting mint marks on coins between 1965 and 1967, trying to discourage collectors from pulling new ones out of circulation. So every 1966 dime you see today looks, on the surface, plain. No mint mark, no distinction. Just ordinary pocket change. But here's the twist, a few were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets, just like the 1965s. And when one of those slips through, you're not just holding history, you're holding a lottery ticket. I discovered mine after nearly giving up. I'd been through hundreds of dollars in rolls, sitting at my kitchen table, the kind of late-night grind where your back aches and your eyes feel like sandpaper. I dumped another roll into a tray, spreading the coins out edge up, scanning for that telltale stripe. 99 out of 100 showed the copper sandwich. Then I froze. One didn't. One had a pure, gleaming silver edge. I plucked it out, hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. First test, the weight. I put it on my scale, 2.49 grams. Silver weight. Second test, the ring. I tapped it against a glass and it sang that high, clear silver tone, totally different from the dull thud of clad. Third test, magnification. Under my loupe, the details leapt out. Roosevelt's bust struck sharply, no copper bleeding through, edges perfectly smooth. That's when I knew. This wasn't a dream. This was one of the elusive 1966 silver dimes. And here's where the wow factor hit. I decided to film an exclusive side-by-side comparison. On one side of the screen, a regular clad 1966 dime. On the other, my silver 1966. Under an electron microscope, the difference looked like night and day. The clad showed that layered, sandwich effect, while the silver shimmered as one continuous metal. Watching the two next to each other felt like unveiling a magic trick. And then came the ultimate test. I sent it to a grading service. When it came back authenticated, the label staring at me with 1966 silver transitional error, I nearly dropped the slab right there on the floor. That label meant only one thing: jackpot. Now let's talk value, because this is where the stakes escalate beyond anything we've seen so far. While the 1991 era dime pulled $4,300 at auction, the 1966 transitional silver dime commands a similar level depending on condition, $4,000 plus in many cases, sometimes more if it grades high. That's a dime turning into $4,000. Imagine buying coffee, getting change back, and one coin in that handful quietly being worth more than your whole week's paycheck. That's the kind of thrill this coin represents. But let me tell you about the expert reaction, because this was the most dramatic moment of the entire hunt. I brought the 1966 to a veteran numismatist, a guy with 40 years of experience. I didn't say a word, just placed the coin on a velvet pad. He leaned forward, squinted, tilted it under the light. And then he actually sat back in his chair, crossed his arms, and said, "No. No way." He grabbed his scale, his loupe, ran through the same tests I had. And when he finally set it down, his voice dropped to a whisper, "Do you know what this is?" I grinned and said, "Yeah, I think I do." That moment, watching decades of expertise buckle under the weight of discovery, is one I'll never forget. His reaction was priceless, part disbelief, part envy, part pure admiration. Here's what makes this story even wilder. I didn't find it in a dealer's tray. I didn't buy it from an estate auction. I found it in circulation. A bank roll. Ordinary change. Which means there could still be more out there. Maybe in your wallet. Maybe in the cup holder of your car. That's the electrifying part of this hunt. Treasure still circulates among us, invisible until you know the clues. And the clue for 1966 is simple: check the edge, check the weight, and never assume a dime is just a dime. Now let's tie it all together. We started with the 1991 era dime, a Rongplanchet wonder worth $4,300. We moved to the 1965, the ghost silver dime worth $1,800 that hid in plain sight. And we finished with the 1966 silver transitional, a $4,000 rarity that experts themselves can barely believe. 3 coins, 3 levels of treasure, each harder to find and each more valuable than the last. So here's what I want you to do. Next time you get change, don't just toss it aside. Tilt those dimes, check those edges, and listen for the story the mint never intended to tell. Your next handful of coins could contain a hidden payday. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment that says, "Coin Hunt," if you're ready to check your change like never before. Because here's the thing, this isn't the end. Next week, I'm diving into a new chapter of the treasure trail. Pennies. And not just any pennies. I've got one worth $10,000 to show you. That's right, 10,000 hiding in the smallest coin we spend without a thought. So if you thought today's dimes were wild, you haven't seen anything yet. So there you have it, 3 rare dimes worth thousands, proof that the thrill of treasure hunting is alive and well. Remember, patience, sharp eyes, and a willingness to look where others don't. That's how you strike gold in the most unlikely places. Until next time, keep hunting, keep dreaming, and above all, check your change.